Hi there, Scott Action Jackson here, back with another one of my favorite lists. This one covers my favorite PlayStation 1 games. Crash Bandicoot. This became one of the staples for the PlayStation 1, let alone the PlayStation in general. Once this game launched, it became popular and spread like wildfire. It is a fun little game, which brought about, at this point, I think, like 5 or 6 sequels, one of which is a racing game. Diablo. My experience with the game Diablo is more towards the PC version, but I do enjoy the PlayStation version a lot better. The one downside is I didn't really have that many other people to play with. It's a great dungeon crawling RPG. Disney's Hercules. Now I'm going to bring this up with both this one and the next one. These I've selected because they were most enjoyable, because they were fun, and you got to play through most of the story from the movies. From Hercules going through the training to, I think, fighting the Titans with Zeus. But yeah, this is a fun little game that people of all ages can play. And it does have actual cinematics from the movie. Disney's Tarzan. Much like Disney's Hercules, this has a lot of cinematics from the movie and follows the movie. The one thing that I enjoyed the most with this is Tarzan, I guess, surfing along the vines. And of course the trash in the camp section. Dragon Ball GT Final Bout. This is a game that a lot of people hate. I don't hate it. I thought it was an interesting fighting game for what it is. It introduced the United States to Dragon Ball GT, even though the English voice cast is a little off on some stuff.
You look strong. This should be a good fight.
This is going to be a problem.
Show me the results of your training.
I will now end this.
To show you a terror beyond hell. That was our agreement, wasn't it?
You jerk!
Final Fantasy VII. This is another one of those staples that is a core requirement for PlayStation 1. Well, technically Sony in general. Because they did remake this finally. Took them, 10 years-ish? And people know that Final Fantasy is one of the staple RPG games. Marvel vs. Capcom. This was a great mashup of Marvel and Capcom fighting characters in a game going up against each other. Monster Hunter and Monster Hunter 2. I put these two down in one place because they're kind of the same game. Actually, if that's the case, maybe I should have put Disney Hercules and Disney Tarzan as the same game, but anyway. Monster Hunter is more or less, well, in Japan it's called Monster Farmer, or Monster Farm. But you raise and battle monsters, which you can actually get from loading a disc into the PlayStation. Now that was very, very interesting, because I know myself have tried many, but I think I tried all kinds of different CDs for the Monster Rancher games. And I think the last one I played, the last Monster Rancher game I played was, I think the first or the second one on the PlayStation 2. Because on there, I was actually able to throw in the DVDs as well to try those out to see what monsters those unlock. Mortal Kombat Trilogy. There is a slight advantage that the PlayStation version has over the Nintendo 64 version of the Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but I know it has to do with Sang Soon's transformations. I think in one it takes a long time to load, and in one it doesn't. Oddworld Abe's Odyssey. This one was kind of fun to play at first. I mean, there's the whole trial and error to it, but overall it can be a fun game. Resident Evil. And yes, the original Resident Evil. Not the director's cut. No. The original Resident Evil. I remember playing this with a bunch of friends a long time ago. It was horror. It had action. It was a great experience overall. Although, at this point, the only way you can actually find a version of the original Resident Evil is if you can find that Resident Evil Deadly Silence game for the DS. Otherwise, you're going to find its remake across like PlayStation and Xbox and maybe, yeah, and I think across the Nintendo systems as well. Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 was, to me, a good sequel to the first one. I mostly played it as Leon. It had its scary moments, but more action scenes, more shooting, which some people say, oh yeah, it's not a horror game anymore. Okay. Does that make it less of a good game? I don't think I beat this game on the PlayStation. I believe I beat it on the Nintendo 64. Space Jam. Okay, this one's going to be a bit crazy. Alright, remember the stuff I said about the Looney Tunes Beatball game on the Super Nintendo? Take some of that, add in Michael Jordan and the Monstars from the Space Jam game. There you go. You got that on top of weird mini games that are from some points throughout the movie. So this is a weird selection on here, but still it's one of my favorite PlayStation 1 games. And one I wish I could find a physical copy of, but I can't. Spider-Man. Now this is going to be a case where I'm going to probably say the same thing across both this and the Nintendo 64 version. This is one of those games where you got to feel more like you really are playing as Spider-Man. From going across rooftops to fighting bad guys. And this game had a weird what-if mode when you were able to actually locate it and unlock it. And it was hilarious. Wing Commander 3, Heart of the Tiger. I've heard a lot of people bash this game as a PlayStation port compared to the PC version. When you can only play it on PlayStation, I don't give a fuck. People play this on the PlayStation, and it's their only source of playing it until later on when they can actually get the PC version. And of course, this was across multiple things, not just PC. It was on the 3DO, which I don't know how many people remember that system. In Wing Commander 3, you get to play as, I think, Colonel Blair, who was labeled the Heart of the Tiger for defeating the Karathi. And in this one, you're more or less trying to hold the line with the Federation, or whatever Federation, against the Karathis. And there is some betrayal that goes on. There's some interesting cinematics and some not so interesting ones. Wing Commander 4, The Price for Freedom. Now, in this sequel game, which takes place sometime after the previous game, Colonel Blair gets re-recruited and is asked to find traitors within this federation. And much like the third one, I liked it for what it was. I mean, it was an interesting flight simulator in space. I mean, of course, there's better ones out there. I mean, on the Nintendo 64, there's some Star Wars better ones, but, well, at least a better one. WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game. Okay, WrestleMania, the arcade game. Fun arcade game. And this is actually have all the characters, including the bigger guys. So I guess overall my list usually consists of games that I have fun with. Because technically that's the way it should be with video games. You should be having fun with the video games. You shouldn't be making it a chore or a major work. You should have fun with it. If you have some of your favorites you want to share, go ahead and share it down below. Until next time, bye.